Ellison, welcome today. It's nice seeing you.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself to get us started?
Yeah, I am newly retired, fully embracing my cronehood. I've spent several decades as a private Alzheimer's and hospice caregiver, a death doula. And it's been glorious, and I'm fully enjoying now this opportunity to reinvent myself and embrace this next stage of life.
And your story relates to some of that. Tell us a little bit about the fierce awakening that you wrote about and why you chose that moment to share with us.
I'd love to share why I chose this particular moment. I looked at all the different turning point times in my life, and we all have lots of things that happen. Some of them are big events, some of them are lots of little events, but it was so enjoyable and useful to go back and reflect on what are the things that have happened to me that caused me to turn and change the direction I was going. And I looked at like what had the most impact for where I'm at now. And it was, what I realized was, it is like the spiral. It was perfect that that's what we're talking about, that we start out with, as we're born as pure little innocent beings. And then we get our identity from what's reflected back to us. It's a girl. And all that means. And our teachers and our friends and our family and our schools and our churches and everything else, our magazines and movies, all reflect back to us who we are. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. We create our own identity. And then when we head into our 20s, 20s-ish, and we head out on our own, that's the time where we start turning out. But it's still about making our way, looking at changing our identity. Who are we really? What is our work? What are our preferences? There's a lot of time for rebellion at that time, trying things on, making mistakes, having our hearts broken, making our accomplishments, accumulating our possessions, and that's what we're supposed to do. And then as we keep going and navigating all the opportunities, I call them growth opportunities, sometimes they're crisis, and then we start turning, we keep turning. It's this big spiral. We turn and turn and turn. And as we get older, we start turning back into ourselves. We've gained enough wisdom from all of our lives, from our mistakes, from our achievements, from the feedback we've gotten, from the feedback we haven't gotten, from the times we sit and reflect on what we're proud of, what we wished we had done differently. But we accumulate wisdom, and we just keep turning and turning. And then we turn back inside of ourselves, where we know who we are, we know what our gifts are, we know what we are passionate about, we know what's important to us. And then we're urged to start giving back. Like, that's part of aging. It isn't about getting, it's about giving and getting the fulfillment from that. We have enough stuff. We've been patted on the back enough times. We don't need that anymore. We start turning and giving. And in that, we start preparing for death. And all along the way, we prepare for death. So it was really exciting to spend many decades surrounded by death. And being a death doula was because I'm very comfortable with death energy and embrace it fully. Like the sacredness of it, I hold it the same as birth. We are born into this body and we are born out of this body. and it's all sacred if you are present and have intention. So embracing that, one, made it easier, more fun for me, but it made me really good at my job. And so when I come to the time of Crone, like, I'm so comfortable. I've spent decades around elders and around aging, and I get to see that we're all aging. Like, the minute you're born, you're heading toward Crone, and the only way to stop that is to die. So if we're all on the same journey, we can choose how we approach it. And I'm really excited to see that we're at a time where it's really shifted away. It's been centuries that women have been oppressed, told to be silent and smile, told we're supposed to look and act a way that's unattainable, and we're supposed to do that at all costs, that our only value is how we look and how much we do for everyone else at all costs. And I'm so thrilled to be in a time where women are finding their voice. Women are saying no more to all of the toxic and damaging programming. And we've watched lots and lots of women, celebrities. There's plenty of models of women that are resisting aging, that are doing the fillers and the Botox and the plastic surgery and the ridiculous dieting, including surgeries. And there's another way. And it's a spectrum. Like, there's I don't wear makeup and I let my hair grow natural because I'm not resistant to being old. And it's not like anti-aging. It's like reclaiming aging as a sacred part of life, that wrinkles and gray hair is beautiful in its own way. I don't need to look like I'm 20 or 30 or 40. I need to look like I am. And if I want to look good, all I have to do is be healthy. Like, I know, we all know, like, exercise, hydrate, eat good foods, be happy, cut our stress down. That's what makes us look good. Having joy, being lit up. So I'm excited at a time where it's really popular for women to want to be lit up and live in a life that they're passionate about. And so that's the part of the spiral I'm in. And I'm inviting other women to embrace that and to look at the full spectrum, and that we all get to choose. Like, how are we going to live our lives? How are we can embrace the different phases that we go through? And it saves a lot of energy if we do it easily. Like, we can resist and fight, but that's a huge leak of energy. And I'd rather use all my energy for having fun.
Ellison, one of the things I completely love about you is how you light up when you talk about lighting other women up, right? And as we confront our own death, right? Your ability to hold the energy of joy and the energy of death in the same moment, and your capacity to do that always lights me up, right? And I want to know how you do that. Is this something you always had? Is it something you cultivated? Because I think when we think about death, yeah, there's a lot of worry, right? I'm not going to be here anymore. I have so much still to do. But you put this in this perspective of you're born out of your body, right? So how are you going to get to this moment of being born out of your body? Which it's a nice way of thinking of it. Did you always have this skill? How did you cultivate this holding both? Kind of like, I see you as one of these goddess women, like, who has both, the Kali, the destroyer, and the creator kind of energy. How do you do that?
That's such a great question. Thank you. So I did cultivate my ability to hold death and joy at the same time. First off, I consider joy to be a choice. It's a state of being. It's not a reaction based on what's happening outside of me. And so I've spent a lot of years like cultivating things inside of me and choosing the state of being that I want. Like, yeah, if something horrendous happens in your life, we have emotions about it. And we should. I believe that you should honor and acknowledge all of your feelings, not pretend that it doesn't exist. But my state of being is my choice, not, I'm not at the whim of everything outside of me. I like to think of like a seaweed that goes with the current. They're anchored into the ocean floor, so they're stable. But as the currents go in and out, they can move. And they don't break. They're not rigid. It's just this flowing thing. And so I like to live my life like that, where I'm grounded and anchored and choose who I am and my state of being, which is joy. And then I'm flexible to what happens and I acknowledge it. I don't pretend it's not happening, and I don't get lost in it. I let it run through me and run through my body. So it's taken a lot of years to cultivate it. I was in a shamanic community for 20 years where I learned about energy and how to like monitor my own energy, how to adjust my own energy. And so that helped me cultivate that I can be in the energy that's around me. Seniors have their own energy. Children have an energy. Adults have an energy. Seniors have an energy. Animals have an energy. And if you can match that energy, then you can fully embrace everything that means, that you can feel what it feels like. And so I've had this practice for 20 plus years of being in the energy of senior. What does that feel like? And as I hit there, it was just like, of course, like I just take it on a little more and a little more and a little more, but it's comfortable. I didn't resist it. I don't have the expectation that I'm going to look like the cover of a magazine and then, see the gap between my reality and that expectation. That's another way I cultivate it, is I look at what my expectations are. And I see that, and there's a lot of traditions that hold that suffering is the gap between expectation and reality. And so I always look at what's my expectation. If I feel like I'm suffering, then I look, where's this expectation and how can I shift that? So I get to be sovereign. I get to control how I respond to what's happening. And that's the fun of getting older. Like, you have a tool belt that is fully stocked with all kinds of tools and mantras and meditations and practices and friends and experiences and stories that you can pull out and try on when a circumstance happens that you have to figure out how to navigate. So it's a lifelong cultivation that we all go through, and it's more fun if you do it awake and with intention.
What you just said there of being able to navigate that and being able to choose that and being sovereign in that decision. This is really crone wisdom, isn't it? It is. And clearly you've come to these crossroads before, right? And you've had to make those choices. Am I going to do this joyfully or am I going to do this stressfully? I have to do it anyway. There's something's going to be done. And you said it to me just a few minutes ago, right? Are you going to do it in a relaxed way or are you going to do it in a stressed way? Right. And it's that. And it's from here that I'll ask, like, how are you hoping that the woman picking up this book and reading, flipping through and getting to your story, how do you hope she's connecting to what you're saying here, what you're saying in your chapter about how she needs to take the next step through the crossroads onwards onto her spiral path? Do you hope she connects to the most?
That is such a good question. So what I really hope that the readers get out of this, about my story in particular, is like we're all on the path. Like you're not alone. Like the challenges and the joys, they're not only you, and they're personal to you. But we all go through that. We all have heartbreaks. We survive. Like, and so to see that, like, oh, you can go through all of these things and come out with even better, that life can be even better if you let go of where you thought it was going and go with where it is. Like, I hope women are inspired to be curious, to look at what is their intention, what are their expectations and beliefs that maybe need to be let go of, and like what are the gifts in all the opportunities that they're at. If they're in a place that's challenging, like what is the opportunity in that they can choose, because it's a lot easier that way. And then, it's like when you're riding a roller coaster, we bought the ticket. So put the seatbelt on. When it's going down the hill fast, throw your arms up in the air and scream, because that's the fun. And if you need a barf bag, that's okay.
Right. That's exactly right.
But we
And
all keep getting on the roller coaster.
because that's life, right? It is like that. It is, but I like what you said in the beginning, right? Of it's a roller coaster, but in a roller coaster too, there's always that turn. There's always that like moment where it's going to be super exciting, it, and it's like something that's going to be maybe something to fear even, right? Because you're going around this at 100 miles an hour and it's just going to curve, and you're going to get to that and you're going to be like, ah, excited and fearful and anxious and nervous and joyful, and all of those things will be, batched together. So what are the 5 qualities that you've learned from your life, from your experience, and that you hope others cultivate as we walk the spiral path, whether it's the stretch that's easier or that curve that could be really exciting?
Well, so that's really good. So 5 characteristics that I think are really important is watch the power of language, because that really impacts our experience. If you say something is painful or awful, how would that feel different if you say this is intense or uncomfortable? Like, we like to use dramatic words, but it impacts our experience. So, when we're a little bit hungry or we haven't eaten for 10 minutes, we like to say, I'm starving. That's not really true. And so it feels different to be starving than it does to be like, I could really enjoy some food. So, I think it's really important for us to be really intentional with our language about how we speak to ourselves, especially. And if something is feeling in a way we don't like, we can look at how we're labeling it. And it's not to pretend it doesn't exist, but get really clear about what's the story that we're telling ourselves? What's the belief that we have? And is it really true? Like, if we question the truth of our experiences and our beliefs all the time, that makes a lot of difference. I think that curiosity is critical. That's the place where everything can change. Like, when we have a set way that it has to be, there's no room for magic. There's no room for shifting. Like, curiosity, and learn the phrases that inspire and engage your curiosity. For me, if I just say, I wonder how, Like, boom, my brain is in there, curious, looking around for all the options, which opens my possibilities, which opens the ability to have changes happen. So I think curiosity is a really important one. Intention, without attachment to an expectation. Like, really have an intention, but make it big. Like, if my intention is joy, is much different and has a lot more room than if I say, at 3 o'clock, I need to feel like I need the doorbell to ring and Prince Charming has come and he is dressed in a certain way. Like, if I just say, my intention is to have joy, and then watch, how does that show up? And then the next one, of course, is gratitude. At the end of the day, every day, when my head hits the pillow, I like to review my day and acknowledge everything that I'm grateful for. And it's the big things and the little things. And I think gratitude is like a magic wand that can shift energy faster than anything else. So at night, I usually start with, because I'm still so grateful for retirement, I'm grateful for the spaciousness of time, that I get to choose every day how I spend my time. That is miraculous. It's luxurious. And I work with women on creating that sense, like how to generate energy so that we can live our big, bold dream lives, whatever that is. And then I think another really key important thing is to know what we're passionate about. And really, sovereignty is being self-governed, that we get to choose where we put our time, our energy, and our resources. And I think it's most important for that to line up with our values and our passions. Like, to express ourselves with our gifts, not with drudgery, meeting other people's expectations. And I know that at different phases in our lives, if you've got a job that you have to go to, there are expectations, and it may not always be the way you want it to be. But instead of I have to do, like, I'm of service because, and acknowledging, like, I have this job, because then I get a payday. And that payday lets me have a safe place to live. That lets me put food on the table. That lets me, do all of these things. That's a whole different than like, I have to go to work and I hate going to work and I have to do the things I don't want to do. Like, it's just about shifting our stories and then throwing in that gratitude and curiosity. Like, how can I make it more fun? How can I make it easier? Like, I spent a whole year with my theme for the year being ease. And every time something, I hear myself go, oh my God, this is so hard. Oh, my theme is ease. How can I make this easier? And then let that shift. And that's that place where the spaciousness, it's not how many minutes we have, it's the feeling of spaciousness, creating that opening that allows spirit to come in and inspire us. Like, this decade, I've dedicated my life to being a life of service, and I made that as a conscious choice, which then was so satisfying and fun. And then I heard myself add a year ago, and to be divinely inspired. And so it's a divinely inspired life of service. And so when I get an idea, then I'm like, oh, let me see how I can do that. And when I am open for inspiration, that's where all the magic comes in. Like, I don't have to work hard to do everything by myself. I don't have to figure it out. I can just let go and know, like, one of my favorite mantras is spirit would not invite me to the party and then slam the door in my face. So I know if I've gotten an idea or an inspiration, that's going to be supported, even if I can't figure it out. Like it would make no sense at all for spirit to invite me to do something and then have me fail. Like, that's not the point. So, sometimes it's just ridiculous, the beliefs we have. Like, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. Well, why would you be invited? Like, that's the only thing that makes sense, is that you come to the party and you come in and you have a good time. Like, that's what the host wants. We're in our lives. We got invited in our lives to come in and fully participate and have a good time, which includes good things and bad things. So that's a long way of saying those are the 5 things.
But
Obviously, I'm very passionate about all of this.
but they're so spot on in so many ways, right? Because it isn't just one thing that lights you up, right? It is the inspiration. It is the being open to the idea that you could be even inspired at a certain age, right? Like, I think we reach midlife or crone stage and you're kind of like, oh, I've done it all. What's going to inspire me now, right? Let me be curious. Let me wonder about that. And I always love when you say that too, like, yeah, spirit invites you in. You're not with the intention that you're rising to your higher self. It's not an invitation to like, I'm going to tease you with it and then I'm going to like, sometimes
Exactly.
life gives you that and there's a lesson there, right? But most of the time it's like you were saying, you just got to get around that little bend and then it kind of evens out again. It does something else, right? It's that flow. But
Well, and when we come to these turning point places, we get to choose. There's a left turn and a right turn, and there's everything in between. And if we head in a direction that we're like, oh, this isn't what I thought, like, there's U-turns allowed. You can pull over to the side, make a little pit stop, pull out a map, figure it out again. Like, we're driving the car. So we can do the trip any way we want. I see people who at a certain age just give up and, sit in the rocking chair, say my life is over and there's nothing left. Or, there's plenty of examples of, I used to belong to a race walking club in San Francisco when I was like 30. And they were all couples in their 70s and 80s that were, I'll tell you, there's nothing to motivate you to keep going when, as having a 70-year-old zip past you like you're standing still. So we get to choose. And even when life throws us circumstances that we feel we can't overcome, we still get to choose how we respond to it. Like, we can give up, we can feel sad or sorry for ourselves, or we can figure out, like, yeah, how can we navigate this? How can we use this for what's important to us? And there's always examples of people on both ends of the extreme, and we get to choose. And as long as we're taking a breath, there's always a choice. And we don't even know there might be a choice after.
there probably will be, right? And it's in that I want to ask you, like, any last thoughts, ideas, feelings, sensations, wisdom, anything else that wants to be present right now to encourage the person, the woman who's hearing this story, who's reading your chapter. How do you want to encourage them to take the next step?
Well, the thing that's coming up for me in that question about how do I want to encourage them to take the next step? And it was part of what I said about language. Crone has been misaligned for a long time. We get to look at the way culture has twisted language to diminish everything that was powerful for women. And so to start by embracing the sacredness. Crone comes from the word crown. It's the queen phase of our lives. Hag comes from the word holy. Witch comes from the word wit, which means wise woman. And yet, if you look in the dictionary, Crone says withered, ugly old woman. And so I choose to call bullshit on that. I choose to use the word crone and create, like, infuse that with the sacredness that it holds. And so by honoring the parts of ourselves that are holy and sacred, that changes our experience. And so I question everything that diminishes women and call bullshit on it. I was one of the few women I knew that loved the menstrual cycle. In my shamanic community, my medicine name was Red Medicine Woman because I was so passionate about women's blood mysteries. And yet our culture has such diminishing language around that. And I'm just like, are you kidding? This is the part where we create lives in our bodies. Like, how magical is that? We get to choose if we do that or not. Now, there are circumstances that happen that we don't always get the choice, but that's our potential. And so to, like, honor the language that is about the sacredness of who we are, to me is like, I hope we're all inspired to do that. Like, that's a great first step, is to really call bullshit on that we have to be a size 2, that we're supposed to be like tall and thin and blonde with big boobs and little waists and no wrinkles. And we're supposed to just smile. And we're supposed to, like, all that, like, bullshit. We are fierce and holy and smart and angry and joyful and comforting. Like, there's this wide range of what it means to be a woman, and we get to choose how we express that, not be diminished by what anyone outside of us says. And we have to learn to navigate that. Obviously, we live in culture. We live in families with people. We have to figure out, how do we navigate who we are so we're effective? Like, it doesn't mean that we can 100% of the time express the darkest sides of ourselves to every single person, which we're seeing happen. Oh, what do you want me to wear, a mask? I'm going to punch you in the face. Like, that's not how we navigate sacred anger. Like, we want to be effective in what our big intention is about expressing all of us in the world. So I hope that women are inspired to question everything and then reclaim what lights them up and reject what diminishes them in whatever level they want. So that's what I hope for women, that they get out of that they can really be sovereign and govern themselves, because they are.
It's a beautiful, beautiful wish, Ellison. It's a beautiful hope.
I want to live in a world where all women give from overflowing and are lit up and light up the world. Like, that's where I want to live.
All right, Crone sister, you and I, we're going to make that happen. This book is just the starting point, isn't it? For some of us.
Absolutely.
But thank you, Ellison.
Thank you so much for having me, giving me this opportunity for me to, like, reclaim again the things that are important to me.